A single dad CEO went on a blind date for a friend, but fell in love with a poor girl at first sight. Ethan Cole was not the kind of man who believed in fairy tales. At just 37, he was already a self-made billionaire CEO of a tech company everyone wanted a piece of. But behind the glass walls of his office and the polished suits, Ethan carried a quiet heaviness, a weight shaped by the loss of his wife 3 years earlier. He was a single father to his little girl, Lily, who was just 7. She was his joy, his reason for pushing through the sleepless nights, but she often asked a question that tore his heart apart: "Daddy, don't you get lonely?" One evening, his best friend Daniel, tired of watching Ethan bury himself in work, set him up on a blind date. Ethan resisted, but finally agreed, only out of loyalty. He told himself it was just dinner, nothing more. When Ethan walked into the small, cozy restaurant downtown, he wasn't expecting much. But then he saw her. Sitting near the window, nervously fidgeting with her fingers, was a young woman who didn't look like the high-powered executives he usually met. Her dress was simple, slightly worn, and her shoes had seen better days. Yet there was something about her presence, quiet, unpolished, but genuine, that made Ethan pause. Her name was Grace. She worked as a waitress in a local diner and had never been on a blind date before. She admitted, with an embarrassed laugh, that she almost cancelled because she didn't feel good enough. Ethan found himself leaning in, drawn by her honesty. They talked about ordinary things: her younger brother who dreamed of college, her struggles to pay rent, her love of books she borrowed from the library. Unlike the women Ethan usually met, Grace didn't ask about his wealth, his company, or his status. In fact, she had no idea who he was. She only cared to ask, "Are you happy?" That simple question pierced deeper than any boardroom debate. Ethan froze, realizing he didn't know the answer. For the first time in years, he laughed, not the polite, practiced kind, but the unguarded laughter that comes from being truly seen. As the evening ended, Ethan walked her home. Grace lived in a small, run-down apartment building. She apologized for the place, but Ethan only smiled. He admired the way she carried herself with dignity despite the hardships. At the door, she thanked him shyly, certain she'd never hear from him again. After all, men like him didn't stay in the lives of women like her. But Ethan couldn't forget her. Days turned into weeks, and he found excuses to see her again, sometimes stopping by her diner, sometimes inviting her to simple walks in the park with Lily. And to his surprise, Lily adored her. Grace had a warmth that children could sense immediately. One rainy afternoon, everything changed. Grace confessed something she had been hiding. Her brother was sick, and she had been working double shifts to cover his medical bills. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she admitted she didn't know how much longer she could hold everything together. Ethan listened silently, his chest tightening. In that moment, Ethan realized what love truly was, not about beauty or status, but about standing beside someone in their struggles, not just their triumphs. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Ethan made a decision. The next morning, he paid off Grace's brother's hospital bills anonymously. He didn't want her gratitude, he only wanted her to breathe easier. When Grace found out, she was overwhelmed, but Ethan held her hand and said gently, "You've been carrying the world on your shoulders alone. Let me carry it with you." It was the first time Grace allowed herself to cry openly in front of him. The months that followed were filled with quiet, tender moments. Family picnics, laughter in Ethan's once lonely home, evenings when Lily would curl up in Grace's lap for bedtime stories. Ethan's life, once defined by boardrooms and deals, was now redefined by love, humility, and the beauty of ordinary joys. One spring morning, under the blooming cherry blossoms in the park where they first walked together, Ethan knelt down. He didn't present a grand, glittering proposal. Instead, he offered a simple ring and whispered, "You've given me back something I thought I lost forever, hope. Will you marry me?" Grace, trembling, said yes. In that moment, a billionaire CEO and a poor waitress proved something universal: Love doesn't measure bank accounts, it measures hearts. Ethan's story became more than a romance. It was a reminder that kindness can bridge worlds, that compassion heals wounds wealth cannot, and that sometimes, the greatest riches are found not in success, but in love. And as Lily held Grace's hand tightly, looking up with a smile that could light the world, Ethan finally had his answer to her question. No, sweetheart. I'm not lonely anymore.